I think it's time for another battery video. Okay, so those of you who have watched some of my previous videos will have seen that I had an old Pylontech Extra 2000 battery. It was about 8 years old, I think, that went a bit bad, and I opened it up and had a look, and one of the pouch cells had gone. And it's been sitting basically on the floor over here waiting for some replacement parts, which have never materialized. So I've been looking on eBay and those sort of sites for ages for an old Pylontech Extra 2000 battery that someone was selling for spares or repairs, something like that, and nothing has really come up. And the one or two things that did come up, they were just asking for way too much money for it. It just wasn't worth doing. And so the battery, or what's left of it, has been sat there, like I say, waiting for a new pouch so that I can try and get it back in working order again. So I've been waiting for ages and ages and ages, and nothing's come up, so I eventually decided to try and go down a different route. And what I decided to do was to get a prismatic cell, which is also lithium iron phosphate, so the same chemistry and the same capacity of 50 amp hours, which is what the double pouches in the Extra 2000 battery are. And basically, although those are not pouch cells and they're not going to fit in terms of size and shape in the box, it is the same capacity and the same chemistry, so I can jerry rig a way to fit it in with the existing pouches and hopefully get the cell back up and running again. Now, the existing pouch cells, like I say, the double pouch cells are 50 amp hours, and the new one that I bought is 50 amp hours, but obviously the new one is brand new, so it will probably hold 50 amp hours, whereas these older pouches will have lost some capacity because it's like an 8-year-old battery now that's had a rough life. So I would expect those to be, I don't know, 45 amp hours or maybe a bit less than that. So I'm going to have to keep a close eye on the voltage levels of the new cell and the old cells. The BMS should balance them out when they get to the top voltage, but whether it can balance out enough to keep the batteries all in line, all balanced, is a different matter. So I'm going to have to keep a close eye on the voltages and make sure that the new cell doesn't end up with too high a voltage, which means that the other cells will drop too low. Now again, the BMS should detect that the cells are dropping too low and should cut off and stop it, but what that means is that I could end up losing some capacity in the battery. So it's going to be a bit of an experiment, see how we get on, but let's have a look what we can do. So here's the prismatic cell that I've bought. So you see it's actually says it's 52 amp hour, though it's advertised at 50 amp hours, but it's close, so hopefully it will be enough. It should be, it's lithium iron phosphate, like I say, and I haven't actually tested it yet, it's only just arrived, so we'll see, but it should be small enough size that I think I can maybe get it in the case. So here's all the battery bits that have been sitting here since the day I finished. I haven't checked them for ages. I think I left them at the sort of middle voltage, which is good for long-term storage. So I should check that they haven't discharged, make sure they're still okay. And then I've got to try and find a way to, I think it was maybe this pack that I took the pouch out of. Anyway, I'm going to have to solder the positive and negative onto this PCB in place of where the pouch used to be attached. So, and then really that's all I should need to do in terms of getting it all working again. But obviously I might not be able to get the lid back on the case. I might have to just sort of rest the prismatic cells sort of, I don't know, on the top like that when they're in the case and see what happens. But there might be a way to get it in, but we'll look at that when we get to that point. So the first thing I need to do is just to check all of these and make sure that they haven't sort of self-discharged over time, and that they're all still holding a good voltage. Oh, I should probably test this one as well, make sure that's okay. Right, let's test this one first. So it's a 3.2, which is where it should be, so that's good. Now let's check these ones. So this pack's at 9.73. And it has, it should have 4 cells in it. No, it hasn't. It's got 3 in that one. So that should be, divide that by 3, 9.7. What's that, about 9.8? No, 9.7. Divided by 3 is 3.2-ish. So that should be okay. Right, this one's a 4 block. So we'll try this one. So that's 13. So 3.2 times 4 is, it should be about 12.8-ish. So yeah, that's close. And I think this is the, yeah, so this is the one that I actually took the bad pouch out of. So this has only got 3 in it, so it should be around 9.7-ish again, like the other one. Oh, a minute, this one won't work like that because it's not a complete circuit because one of the pouches is missing, so I'll have to test each of the cells individually. So let's look at this. So that one's 3.2. 3.2, 3.2, and then the last one should be nothing because there's no battery connected to that anymore, no cell. So they're all still holding good, that's good. And then we've got the last one, which again should be a pack of 4. And this one should be, yeah, about 12 again. Yeah, 13, there you go. So they're all holding, they've all held their voltage all this time since the last time I made that video. They haven't lost anything, which is good. That means they're all good to go. So all I need to do then is, let's get the bad one out. So this is the bad one. So So the old pouches used to be here. A bit of the old tab from the old one. To cut that off. Anyway, yeah, so I packed it out with these few bits of sponge I had, but what I'm thinking is, because there's one of the other ones of these blocks that only has 3 pouches in, all the others have 4, if I put the 2 pouches that have 3 in next to each other, so you imagine the sort of the other one would be exactly the same as this, but next to it here in the case, there'll be enough gap here that I could effectively lie this prismatic cell over the gap in both of them, and then it would all still fit inside the case. And then all I've got to do is solder some wire from these two onto the bottom of these PCB circuit here, and that would effectively recreate this complete battery cell, and hopefully it would work. Now these are in these cases so that it keeps the pouches compressed, because you're supposed to keep these pouches compressed so that when they charge and they want to expand, it limits that, and the same with these prismatic cells. Now this one's in a metal case, and that will provide a certain amount of restraint, and it's probably, for what I'm going to use it for, okay to just leave this one like this. These ones I might try and wrap a lot of tape around it to keep it really tight, because obviously if I'm going to put this on top of there like that, I can't use these cases, so I'd have to bundle these up tight so that they stay like that. But yeah, I think that could work. So what I might do is to create a couple of wires with some lugs on, so I can put it on these screw terminals, and then just solder the wires onto, I'll probably solder it onto the top of this plate here, because there'll be a better connection there. There's more surface area to play with than there is on the underside, so you've got both of these is where the 2 paired pouch used to go. So what I'll do is I'll solder maybe a couple of wires together, and then just bring it around the corner for the positive, and on the other side for the negative. And then we'll see if we can get it all up and running again. Right, I've cleaned these up with a craft knife just to get any of the sticky glue that was on there off, and I've wiped them over with some oh, what's the stuff called? Flux. Using this flux pen to help the solder to stick. And now I'm just heating up my chunky soldering iron. This one's got really big heat capacity, so it will, melt the solder on there. And what I'm going to do is layer the wire right the way along this whole thing, so I solder it so it's in full contact with that. And now I should do 2 red ones on this side, 2 black ones on that side, and then I'll put a lug on the end of each pair of colours, positive and negative, and then I can use that to clamp onto the prismatic cell. And I'll do that now, and then once I've done that, we're all ready to test it out. Okay, that's the first one on. You definitely need a soldering iron with a really big heat capacity like this one, big fat tip with a lot of energy in it, because it takes a lot to melt the solder that's on top of this and get it to stick, so you really have to apply some pressure and let it sit there for quite a while before it melts. So, but that's a good strong bond there, so I'll do the next 3 and we should be good. So I'm using a crocodile clip to just hold it in place, which means I can have my hands free to use the solder with my left hand and the soldering iron with my right, and then I can really work on it without it keep moving around. So little tip there. Okay, there we go, all 4 on. Really good, really pleased with how much of a connection there is there. So these 2 wires together will go into one lug, and then those 2 will go into another lug, and that should be it. I'll get the lugs on, and then we'll take a look. Okay, there we go. So I've got a bit of heat shrink on here as well to keep it all tight, but that looks good. I'll keep a close eye on the temperature that these wires get to, because obviously there's 6 wires here to take the current that this battery can deliver, and I've only got 2. So if I find that these get hot, I use my thermal camera, then I can always solder another 2 on there as well with another lug, and the same on that side, and then potentially even a 3rd one if needs be, and then just stack these on top of each other and bolt them down onto the terminal of the other one. But for now this should be sufficient to at least check that it's working. So I'll go and I probably need to charge up the prismatic cell to the same level as these before I connect it onto this pack, so I'll go and do that first, and then I should be able to get it all together and at least see if the BMS will boot up, and then I can connect to it with the software to see what it thinks is the state of all of the internal cells. Right, I've got this on charge. It's basically almost at the right voltage. This is at 3.2 exactly, and these are at 3.29, so almost 3.3. So I'm just putting a little bit more in it to bring it up to 3.29 as well, and then I shall connect it up and see if the battery turns on. Looking at the way this is constructed, obviously 2 packs go in the middle here. That's the space where, well, I need this pack and this pack next to each other so that I can lie the prismatic cell on top. So I've either got to put them in the middle, which would be the obvious place, but you'll notice that they have different length leads on the top. This one has a really long one. So they've got to go in certain positions in the box. This one, for example, needs to go here, because the long black lead has to reach all the way over to there, and the short red one has to lead to the other, this red one on this pack. So this one would be in the right place here, but the one next to it would be the wrong one. So what I need to do is, I think the other one would belong over here. So I might have to take this out and just sort of sit it between them over here and have 2 together on that side. So I'm going to have a look at that. Right, so it's actually this one I'm going to have to take out, but it's screwed down the back here, but on the bottom it's actually pot riveted. So I'm going to have to drill these rivets out in order to get this out, and then might have some sharp edges at the bottom, so I'll have to put some sort of piece of tape or something over the holes, or a little thin piece of foam or something, just to make sure that none of the pouches catch on the sharp bits, otherwise that'll tear a hole in them, and that wouldn't be good. So I'm just going to drill out the 4 rivets and take this out, and then by then I think the cell should be charged to the same level as the others, and I can try putting it together and see what happens. Right, that's those drilled out, and I've taken out the guide. Like I say, I might have to put, I don't feel sharp, but I'll put a bit of gaffer tape over the top of that just to make sure. just test this now. .29, so it's ready. That's the same as the others, so I'm going to try and connect it up now, and then what I might do is plug a lead from this balance lead, once I've connected it up, into my smart charger and just check that I can see all the levels correct. Right, I've got it connected on, just loosely for the minute, and I'm just going to test the voltage now. We should get voltage for the whole pack. There you go, 13 volts, which is about right. So that part's working. Now I'm just going to try and plug the balance lead into my balance charger and just check that I get a reading for all 4 of the cells. Alright, I've got the... Oh, is that a bit bright? Focus, there you go. So you can see they're all the same now, 3.1, 3.1, 3.31, 3.3. So it's obviously working fine. So I just need to put it all together now, and we'll see if it turns on. Right, so I've tightened up the lugs, and I've put this piece of foam around that the battery came in, just to sort of keep it from touching anything. I'll see if I can put it together now. Right, that's it all in so far. What I might do also is put a piece of foam on the top like that, so that when the case is put on, it will actually compress down and keep that completely away from any metal. Right, I need to try and link all the connectors back up again, plug the BMS in and see what happens. Okay, well, it's all connected up. So now the moment of truth, will it turn on? Well, that looks promising. See if we got voltage. .48 volts. Bingo. Just have to try and charge it now.